Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for turning a moment into a movement. My name is Jay Love, and the movement was born the day my son Gerard was wrongfully incarcerated for a crime he didn't do, and that birthed the Justice for Gerard movement. And if you want to find out anything, if you want to find out more details about that movement, you can go to www.change.org/justice4Gerard and to hear about his story and sign the petition. But that movement birthed this movement, turning a moment into a movement. And we come here on Fridays to talk about wrongful convictions, injustice, and to educate our community. Well, actually, we're on vacation, but we all agreed if something came up that was important that we needed to conversate about, that we would do a pop-up show. So today is our pop-up show. So thank you for joining us. I'm excited about this conversation that we're going to have today about good time, making good sense. But before we introduce our guests, we're going to bring on our panel. And I haven't seen them in a minute, so I'm excited to see them as well. So greetings.
Hey, Jay.
Hi, Trisha. How are you?
I'm so blessed. So happy to be here with you. I miss you.
I know I miss you too. Anything going on good?
Oh man, you know the work always continues, and we're just building the base of volunteers so that we can move forward stronger. And we do have some things coming up, so please stay tuned to our Facebook page.
All right. And I saw, let's see who else is on here. Greetings. Greetings, Baraka.
Hey.
Hey.
How you guys doing this evening?
We're doing great. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing great. And just to take and inform your listening audience as to who I am. My name is Edward Sanders. I go by the name of Baraka. I am someone who had served 43 years in Michigan prison, went to prison at the age of 17, returned home just before my 60th birthday. Within the 4 years that I've been home, I graduated from the University of Michigan School of Social Work. After graduating, I got a job there at the University of Michigan School of Information. And just recently, I've made a transition from the School of Information as a place of employment as a research assistant to Washtenaw County Prosecutor's Office as a paralegal working the Conviction and Integrity and Expungement Unit.
Yeah.
Not involved in taking and sending nobody to prison, but I am involved in taking and looking for those who may have been wrongfully incarcerated, which is what we advocate here on this show. So yes. I'm glad to take and be a part of this. And hey, hello.
Hey, yeah, I'm so glad you're here and congratulations. I know you're gonna be awesome on that job.
Hope so, God. I'm praying that I do a excellent job in that capacity.
Oh, you will. I know you will.
You will.
Thank you guys for the confidence.
You're welcome. Reverend Tia Lil John.
Hey there, how you doing? I'm so glad to see everyone. Look, I was in the middle of reorganizing my life. And I said, oh no, it's time. Listen, I am so glad to be a part of this and to pop up and to really begin to, the things that have been going on in this world, a lot of times people are just not conscious. And it is so time for us to wake up. And I'm so glad that, J Love, that you have given this platform an opportunity to educate and to help us stay awake. And Barack and Trisha out there in the community all the time. We can't do anything if we don't get out in the community. And I understand that more now than ever, especially with the current things that are happening in our city and in our state. So thank you so much. I'm a reverend, but I'm out trying to do what I can do.
I hear you. Hi, Allie. How are you? You're muted.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
I'm doing good. I'm so glad to be here. Introduce myself. I'm Alexandria. I'm an activist, behavior therapist, coordinator, also on Kyra Bowden's Representative Kyra Bowden's Advisory Council with Michigan Liberation Oakland County team and Accountability for Dearborn. And I'm very happy to be here and fighting this fight.
I'm glad you're here too. You're doing something too. You tell us about, you got some, you working with someone, you're doing something awesome as well.
Yeah, I have some upcoming events coming up. So recently started Southfield Coalition for Progress. It's a local group focusing on no justice for those who are Black, incarcerated, those dealing with mental disabilities and physical, and advocating for policy changes, etc. And this month is Black, Indigenous, and POC Mental Health Month. And it was founded by a Black woman, B.B. Moore, in 2008. So in honor of that, I am hosting a bunch of different events. So we just had our mental health first aid training. That was on the 8th and is also again on the 11th. On the 16th is our mental health community conversation for racial healing is a safe space. And we'll have different mental health professionals there as well. And then also we'll be having a criminal justice rally and Black and POC mental health conversation on the 24th. So this month has been all about that, all about Black and POC mental health. Black people are most impacted, and we need to start talking about this. It's the stigma has to go. It's not something that should be swept under the rug. And I just felt it really important to do something, especially this month.
Yes, that's awesome. So make sure you you send me some stuff so I can post it.
Yeah, and I'll send some more. And for sure.
I saw Attorney Hugo Mack, but he left out for a minute. So when he comes on, we'll pop back in. But I also want to send some love out to Pamela White. She's on every time we come on. She's always in the audience. and her mother just recently passed away. So I wanted to send her some extra love from us to her because we appreciate her. She's always watching us. And
yes, we love you, Pamela.
yes. And also, I want to say hi to everyone who's watching, and for those who may watch us later or who may listen to us on Spotify, Anchor, Amazon, what else? iHeart, Apple, all these platforms that we're on, getting the word out about injustice and wrongful convictions. So today we're all here because of Michigan Justice Advocacy Group. And I'm going to bring them on to join us. Attorney Hugo Matt has not came back, but we're going. Hello, Jessica.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
And I don't see Rich, but go ahead, introduce yourself, Jessica, and tell us what it is that you do.
Well, for my side hustle, I'm a nurse practitioner just a few days a week, and a mom and a wife, of course. So those are just a few of the fun things I like to do. And then for some reason, I decided that I wanted to be crazy and wear another hat and become an advocate. And so last year, after we had tried to get that Michigan Prisoner Rehabilitation Credit Act, that petition for a good time last year, that I'm so grateful for all the people out there that helped us collect signatures. A group of us decided to come together and form an official organization to try and go at it again, because we're not giving up until we get it done. So that's what we're doing this year, and we're fighting hard for it. So that's why we're here today.
Yeah, so tell us, for those who may not know what it is that your campaign is about. Can you tell us what good time is?
Sure. So Michigan is one of 6 states that don't have a credit system, and we are the only state that actually has 100% truth in sentencing, meaning that you have to serve 100% of your minimum sentence here in Michigan. Yet in our county jails, you can earn 25% off of your sentence, and there are 9 other states in our country that allow you to earn 50% or more off of your sentence, and earning these credits that allow you to get home sooner, to re-enter society. So that's what we're working on. We have draft language that we're working on with legislators. So I see our campaign director, Rich Griffin, joined on too.
Yes. Hi, Rich. Can you introduce yourself? I don't know if he can hear me. He's muted. Hello. I don't think he can hear me. As a matter of fact, it looked like he's frozen. But Attorney Hugo Mack is here. Hello. Hi, Attorney Hugo Mack.
Hello. Look, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Loud and clear.
You know, we were doing just fine. We were doing just fine. Then something came on my screen that Edward was trying to join the group and couldn't get in. And then next thing I know, I was banished to Siberia.
You got kicked out. Oh, okay.
So I don't know what happened.
Well, you're here now.
I apologize, but I'm here now. I apologize. Right. I don't know what happened.
Well, Jessica introduced
herself. Is it me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Trishay, you've always been honest. Is it me? Is it me?
It looks like Mr. Griffin is back, I think.
Slowly.
Yeah. So, Attorney Hugo Matt, could you introduce yourself and tell everyone who you are? I think they're having problems with the telephones. Attorney Hugo Matt, can you hear me?
Yes. Once again, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Loud and clear.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, my name is Hugo Mack. Primarily a criminal defense attorney, but
Can't hear you, Attorney Matt. Okay, Attorney Hugo Matt, we can't hear you at all. Mr. Griffin, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Excellent. Miss Attorney Hugo Matt went out. So can you introduce yourself and tell us what it is that you're doing? We'll go back to
Sure.
Attorney Hugo Matt.
No problem. No problem. And pardon me for some of the technicalities here. I'm Rich Griffin. I'm the campaign director here at Michigan Justice Advocacy. And my role here at this organization is to help with the overall strategy and rollout of this initiative for reestablishing a good time credit system in the Department of Corrections. I heard Ms. Saminsky going over some of the particulars of what our legislative ask of this legislature is, but overall, one of our primary goals is to make sure that we help the rest of Michiganders get away from the exceedingly $2.2 billion budget for corrections that we have in this state. Is one of the things that keeps us, in a position of constantly having to have conversations about criminal justice reform in this space. I've been here for a few months working as the campaign director, helping to drive what this initiative hopefully will turn into, a good time credit system being established for those folks in the Department of Corrections, and we can unilaterally dismantle mass incarceration, at least in this state as we know it currently.
So, and Jessica or Rich, either one of you can answer this one. At one time, did Michigan have a good time?
There were some policies in place in the 60s and 70s that, the Department of Corrections then went away from disciplinary credits and earned time credits. Those things were done away with over the decades where, nationally we had mass incarceration as an issue, especially with the oncoming of the policies that were instituted between 88 and 92. The Crime Bill Act, precluded states from having some of those policies instituted. So to answer your question, Michigan, yes, prior to the 70s had it, then went away from it and instituted an entirely different system.
Right, Baraka, maybe you can, was it the crime bill that ended that? The good time in Michigan?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Michigan has had a good time statute longer than it hasn't had one. Okay, we have a long history of having good time in this state. I myself, after having served 43 years in Michigan prison, benefited from that good time statute, even though it had been turned off. It was on when I went into the prison in 1975. And by the time I came out in 2017, they had ended. But they had put into the statute that I got resentenced under that I and others wouldn't be able to benefit from it, which was an ex post facto. And the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals took and upheld our right to that good time. So as a result of that good time, even though I had been resentenced from a natural life to a parole, to a number of years, which was 40 to 60 years, I had already served and assessed the minimum, which was 40 years, because I got credit for something like 42 years. But once the court took and upheld the good time, that literally obliterated the maximum of 60 years. Because not only had I accumulated good time, but I accumulated special good time as well. Now, Michigan, what I can say about good time, Michigan, for a good while, this state was following the advancements in the social science, like in behavioral science, etc. They were taking and following the advancements where they were seeing that people would respond positively to incentives and so forth. And so Michigan kind of like followed that for a while. They was following evidence-based science. But we kind of got away from that by taking and responding to the latest news headline, where a person commit a crime or recidivate and the person got out on good time. Well, Michigan prisoners always, whether they have good time or not, we got a high rate of recidivism. It has nothing to do with the good time itself. But what the good time does have to do with is that the good time is the biggest cop on the prison yard. When you take good time out of prisons, you have to put more prison guards in the prisons, and that's more expensive. In addition to taking and putting more guards in the prison, you have to have higher security prisons, again, which is money. And even still, the prisons will be unmanageable. In the time that they took Michigan's good time out of Michigan prisons, Michigan has, you have seen prison gangs excel in numbers. We don't have street gangs that literally came off the streets of Michigan. The gangs that we have here in Michigan in its prisons are East Coast and West Coast gangs. Okay? When I went to prison, I served time in some of in the worst cell blocks, whether it was at the Michigan Reformatory or at Jackson State Penitentiary. In Ionia, I locked on 4 block. On the 4th gallery. In Jackson, I locked in 4 block. Both of those areas was considered the most notorious cell blocks that you had in the prison system. In Ionia, you had both of the most well-known street gangs that used to be on the rock in Ionia on J4, the Bishops and the Chain. But the good time took and made it like as though they had never been in a game. You never seen any game activity from these guys. They were more concerned about earning their good time. When the good time was taken out, by that time, you had the emerging of these gangs from off the East Coast and the West Coast, and that's what predominate inside our prisons today here in Michigan. And those gangs are finding their way on our streets. The worst thing that our lawmakers ever did in the prison system was to take away the incentive for behaving well while you're in prison.
Right. So if I could add to that, yes. I believe it was in 74 that there was a ballot initiative that an attorney ran and took away the good time credit. So then a few years later, they made a new law that was for disciplinary credits. And so that happened all the way until the late 90s, when then the federal government gave more funding to have you build prisons and to house people for even longer. So that was, you gave, let's see, truth in sentencing was passed in 99, 98, and then we established it in 2000 to where you had to serve 100% of your minimum sentence. However, many of the other states only went to the 85% minimum that the federal government was making you have to get their money. Now, we have not had that federal funding in, gosh, almost 20 years, it seems like. So that federal funding has been gone. So we're just housing people for the fun of it, I guess. But like you were saying, as we have been in conversations with a lot of other stakeholders, one of them was MCO and the Michigan Corrections Officers Association. And they too can even attest to the fact that when you give people an incentive on the inside, it builds hope. It builds it to where a reward system, and it changes the environment on the inside, even for the officers, because if we're going to go to the table, we have to talk about everything. And officer wellness is a serious subject as well. And we too want the best for those guys. And studies have shown that when you improve the environment, the work environment, which incentivizing good behavior, it benefits the officers as well.
Yes, that goes back to therapy, behavior therapy, incentivizing good behavior, providing motivation.
We do it with our children, right?
Yeah, that's, and that was we were trying to get that on the 2020 ballot, like in November. There was petitioning happening for all the protests, and people were having people sign these petitions so we could get it to Whitmore. And I hate that we weren't able to do that. It's definitely like it's holding people back. Like it's just really unfair.
Yeah, in some of our talks too with the University of Michigan, J.J. Prescott, who did a lot of research on violent crimes, he was even telling us about for anyone who goes with over 5 years without committing a new crime, they become of the same likelihood as another person who's never committed a felony. So, and there is no magic number to send somebody to prison that says this is going to make sure they don't ever commit another crime. There's no magic number. There's no formula. What we really need to do is incentivize behavior. Then we can get these people to the parole board a lot sooner, and then actually have that taken a look at to say, hey, is this person ready to be a productive member of society, instead of just being punitive? You know, there's just so much more that can be done.
Instead of warehousing people, because that's what they're doing right now. They're warehousing people, but it's called the Michigan Department of Corrections, but there's no correcting being done if people are just being warehoused.
There's errors,
right? Babysitting, you sit around and play cards and...
What you going to say, Mr. Griffin?
Yeah, excuse me. Thank you. If I can go back to a point made not only by Jessica, but the gentleman who spoke just before her, where we find ourselves in Michigan today is the culmination of bad policy decision making over the last 30 years. And the Crime Bill Act, which I spoke to, it gave states incentives to receive federal funding if they would enact mandatory minimums, build more prisons. This was the brainchild, if you will, of what we know today as truth in sentencing, where Michigan now is the sole state where 100% of those times or that sentence is spent. But actually, in Michigan, you know, on average, a prisoner spends about 126% of their sentence behind bars. So, you know, there is the connection between historical policies, which get us to the place where we're still battling mass incarceration. The other side of it are the philosophies behind rehabilitation and correction, as you just mentioned, and as the gentleman spoke to. I too am formerly incarcerated, and like, I don't know who he is, but the gentleman who spoke have served time in those same cell blocks. As a juvenile, I was sent to the Michigan Department of Corrections for the rest of my life at the age of 16. So, like, understanding the different eras of time and generations of folks who come in, the lack of programming to incentivize good behavior, all is, you know, an approach that all of those things are variables and components that the entire state of Michigan need to take a new approach to how we deal with people who are incarcerated, whether we're speaking from a mental health component, an economic component, housing component. All of these variables are extremely important in the way in which we treat, you know, a demographic that is othered because of poverty. You know, crime isn't a criminal issue, it's a poverty issue. And in our state, you know, we're allowing ourselves to spend $2.3 billion on an issue as opposed to addressing the root cause of it, why we have so many African American and Latino men and women in prisons here.
Absolutely. Attorney Hugo Mack, I see you back. Hi.
Well, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well.
Okay, let's try this for the 50th time.
Okay.
I can just tell you personally and professionally, I agree with everything that has been said. I know from my personal experience being a returning citizen and as being an attorney, that when we take away the incentive for people to look towards the future, then they're stuck in looking at the present and worse, the past. And I'm telling you that you've heard commentary from two people that understand a cell block experience. I understand that experience quite well myself. And I'm saying that what has happened is, with the likes of like the Engler administration, closing mental health clinics down, putting in truth in sentencing. And let me say this. The problem is when you have a violent crime that's committed, a lot of times we in society look for a reason, why that happened. That's a good thing. But what's not good is when politicians seize on that. Just in truth in sentencing, there was some heinous crime that was committed by a person. I think he murdered maybe some people in a family or something like that. And the politicians took that, rather than dealing with the root cause of that or holding that particular individual responsible, to say, look, if this person had not been out, this would not have happened. Well, that's not true. You don't know when it would have happened or if it would have happened. That's the same kind of argument that the previous administration on a federal level has said in doing away with sanctuary cities. If these people aren't here, or if we herded them up like cattle and shipped them across the border, the southern border, of course, you notice nobody's talking about the northern border, and ship them across the southern border, all our problems would be gone. So the problem that I see, and I signed that petition, by the way, to put that on the ballot to restore good time. But the problem we have, and I don't know how many of you saw the announcement by James Craig speaking to the Jackson Republicans. The problem you've got is you've got people who look like me who are really going to be out there fanning that flame of, look, we don't need to be letting people out. We need to be putting more people in because they're a threat to your safety. And so what I'm concerned about is that unless we have the public will to do it and enough of us vote, that system is going to stay in place because it fits the political ends of those people who want to get that police support, that lock them up support, and appeal to our greater demons, instead of our greater angels.
Yes, and see that narrative that, lock them up, you're going to be safe. It's not true. I mean,
no, it's not.
They've been locking up people, and the streets are no safer. I mean, their crime is no less. But They run that fear-based narrative every day, and then we go for it. And what results is mass incarceration. Trisha?
That's right.
Two things I want to say very quickly, and I'm going to say quickly because it's a bunch of us, and I do not want to take up too much time. I seen on the news, and we're talking about second chances, right? We're talking about good time. We're talking about finding value in people, right? So how about the prosecutor of Washtenaw County was down at the bus station along with the chief assistant prosecutor and the director of the Conviction Integrity Unit. They're going down there to give second chances, right? To offer expungements. I'll be doggone if somebody, and I ain't gonna call their name, representing the NAACP, okay, had the nerve to say the prosecutor ain't got no business down here trying to act like a defense attorney, trying to offer people second chances. And I'm saying to myself, you from the NAACP and you don't honor second chances? I'm talking about the mindset of people that don't understand. I am not my mistake. I am not my error. I am not what I did. That is what I did. But who I am as a person, see me, honor me, respect me, love me. But that's not what the system does. Second thing, great friend of mine, Darwin Page. He murdered the man who killed his mother. It was her dying declaration to her 14-year-old son. Showed her 14-year-old son, you go and you killed a person who did this to me. And she died. Okay. At age 16, he did that. This man has been in prison for 28, maybe 29 years now. Will not get a second chance. And when I tell you the parole board will just stamp his file and send it back, won't even call him down for a hearing. What? Huh? So he doesn't deserve a second chance. And so then we start to advocate for him. We're writing letters. We're doing all this stuff. They had the nerve to put in writing that we believe that he would be a menace to society if he is released. This man is 40-something years old. He just wants a chance to come back into the community and live his life. But you believe, okay? And now I don't know why they believe that, because they give a assessment. Now this is MDOC's assessment. He is the lowest risk offender. If he is the lowest risk offender in your assessment, then why will the parole board not let him go? Because they are not paid. They don't want to let people go. They want to keep that door revolving so that they can continue to make billions and billions of dollars. And they've been able to do this because we've been silent. But thankful to agencies like Michigan Advocacy group here and Gerard, Justice for Gerard movement, and so many other movements, we are not bowing down to this foolishness anymore. We've got to continue to use our voices to fight back against this unjust system that will continue to lock us up and throw away the key.
Yes. Yes, because Jessica, your initiative, or the initiative that your group is pushing, it's like, and correct me, it's 30 days credit for 30 days good behavior, right?
Yes. And I'd like to just add something to Trishay's comment about age and aging out of crime.
Yeah.
Currently in the Michigan Department of Corrections, over 15,000 people are over the age of 40. 3,000 people are over the age of 60. And when you start at the age of 35, every 5 years you get older, the recidivism rate drops by 4%. So by the time you're 60, it's less than 4%. And so these are off of the MDOC's numbers and data that they gave us. So that's where we pulled that from, if anybody wants to know. But can you believe that? So we're over half of the prison population right now, you know, their recidivism rates are so low. But going back to what you said about our draft language. So yes, 30 days served, 30 days off. And that's if you go that 30 days without a class 1 misconduct ticket. And the reason we chose the 30 days was because, and after talking with MDOC, that's the type of calculations that they already use, because they do have a time computation team already. I think it had 3 or 4 people on that team. So they already have that capabilities. It would need some tweaking for their system, of course, for new programming and whatnot. But then also we want it to be retroactive. So our language in our bill says it's retroactive, and it applies to all crime categories, because like you said too, Trishay, is that, you know, who are we to say if somebody deserves or is redeemable? You know, if we put this out there and say, you know, here's your opportunity, you have the choice in whether or not you choose to take advantage of this opportunity. And so retroactive, all crime categories, 30 day for 30 day. Very simple. That's what we want it to be. Very, very simple.
That's awesome. Rebetia?
Yeah, you know, I really like what everyone has said. I am in agreement. I think that also we need to consider when it comes to the prison system is definitely how much they are making on the lives that are working within there. And it's sad to say, money seems to be the catalyst of many decisions that are made in this United States. And so when you look at the prison population, when you look at, definitely just looking at Michigan, when I look at Michigan alone, and the private companies that were behind it, now they're trying to reconstruct private, so that if you look at it, you have some companies that are saying, well, they're not for profit, and what they're doing is they are making it so that those people who are serving prison time can learn a trade, and when they get out, they will be able to get employment. That's what they say is happening. However, some of these companies that have been, I know one in particular, has been within the prison system doing this since 1943. And so at some point, we have to look at what is the benefit for some people, because some people benefit from other people serving time, and they are economically benefiting. And until we get there, until we begin to say, No more. You cannot profit off of these people. It's just modern day slavery. And we need to stop it and stop acting like it's not existing. It is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
We have a question for one of the people that's watching, PG actually. She would like to know if it's possible to introduce a bill that will allow the men and women who are incarcerated to get fair wages so that people can pay child support, etc. This will prevent prison exploitation work. What are your thoughts on this, panel? Okay.
See, and I just got finished talking about the payment. Yeah, and then some of the corporations will be like, well, maybe I don't want to do this anymore. If they were able to get the pay that they would get if they were not incarcerated, then the corporations would say, oh, well, we do that anyway. We do that anyway out in the community. Yeah, I agree.
Attorney Hugo Mack.
Well, I want to be sure I understood the question. Are they saying pay people in the penitentiary the same wages that people in the free world get?
She said a fair wage.
Well, I mean, I'm going to tell you something about myself. In my penitentiary experience, I worked 99% of the time in the law library. And at $3.26 a day, I was a very rich man in the penitentiary. All right. Mm-hmm. So in terms of a fair wage, I think that it's more realistic to say a wage that's more commensurate with the expenses that are there. I mean, there's an inmate store, for example, okay, that exorbitant prices were being charged, no discounts there, and in terms of packages that people could send in and buying shoes, there were no discounts there, TVs and things like that. So I think it's more realistic to say we need to up the wages of individuals in the penitentiary. I don't think the legislature would ever do something as in a free world economy. Not that I'm opposed to that, but it certainly needs to be up from what it is. Porters' jobs making pennies a day, which is ridiculous. It was always a good thing if somebody could get a job working in the kitchen. The kitchen workers, when I was there, made more money than anybody else, so everybody wanted to get a kitchen job. So I agree with the concept of increasing pay, because when you make a man or woman work for literally slave wages, you aren't making yourself safe. So I'd rather see our tax dollars go towards paying people more of a fair wage, if you want to call it that, in a penitentiary, because we're going to benefit from that in the long run.
Reverend Tia?
Yeah, I think though what the and I agree with what you're saying. What the person was alluding to was the fact that some of these people are serving time and they have families. They have children. The children are suffering. There's no, what kind of child support is there? And so, and so many times you'll see a family, and not only did the parent go to prison, but then the child also ends up in the system, some kind of way, in a system. Mm-hmm. And then they go to the system because they haven't had their needs met. It's slavery.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
That's right. That's right. And the thing is this, when our loved ones are incarcerated, they're not being rehabilitated, they're not getting much needed counseling. I mean, the trauma that is endured, that I can only imagine, and my brothers right here know, but the trauma that is endured. And then you have these companies that make billions and billions of dollars, make them pay for health care. Make them pay for mental health services. Make them pay for this stuff. Then the state saves money. So see, if you want to be a good steward as a state, then you will allow these companies to pay individuals what they're worth. I don't care where we are. We're human beings. If you say that individuals that work should not be paid less than what the, what do they call that? The state minimum wage, then doggone it, that's what should be given to individuals who are incarcerated. Listen, and then maybe it wouldn't be such a dog-eat-dog society where everybody trying to figure out how to get money and how to, if we do this thing the right way, it'll bring about the results that we need. We just looking at it from one angle. No, we're not going to give prisoners that money. But what about the good stuff you could do by rehabilitating folks so that when they come home, they're ready to come home and they don't have to come home packed with so much trauma.
Right. There's another question. This is for Hugo, Rich, but Rich, he's not on right now. But Edward probably can answer this question as well. If good time had been available for you as proposed, how would it help you during your incarceration?
Good time was available to me. The formal good time statute, as I pointed out, I went to prison in 1975. I didn't come home until 2017. Okay, just a few days ago would have marked the 4th year that I've been home. Okay, I received good time, but I was unable to take and benefit from that good time immediately because I was serving a natural life sentence, just like the other gentleman that was on here. I don't know how long he spent in prison, but I went to prison as early as 1975. So I got good time. I got special good time. But I couldn't take and benefit from that until I had been resentenced to a number of years. Once I was resentenced to a number of years, even though the legislator had put inside of that statute that I wasn't supposed to receive it, the court agreed with us that that provision was an ex post facto, meaning that the government was trying to take something from us that we had already earned, that the law had already gave us. That's how inclusive Michigan's previous good time statute was. It didn't exclude anyone, including those who was convicted for first-degree murder. Okay, so it's a very, we shouldn't take and recede from that. We should continue to insist that every single person is eligible for good time, because the idea is to make the prison manageable. Everybody in the prison contribute to that, not some of the people. That would actually be disruptive to the prison system, that some prisoners would receive it, or some individuals who are incarcerated would receive good time and others wouldn't. Okay, that will be very disruptive. We are in a position to take and run a smart campaign, not an emotional campaign, on restoring good time, because the evidence is there. When a person that is incarcerated commits a misconduct while incarcerated doing good time, they hold administrative hearing to determine how much of the good time that that person had earned, and or special good time that that person had earned that will be taken away from them retroactively. They don't only take and deny you under the statute the good time that you could have got for the month in which you caught that ticket. They can even go back months and years. I've seen people who had lost decades of good time because of their behavior. And believe me, they woke up real fast. They woke up and everybody else took notice of it, that was a fool, that you lost that much good time. And people would constantly tell that person, you lost that much good time over a particular thing. Okay, so we can run a smart campaign. We can take and show that under the formal law, the system would take and address misbehavior by taking a hold of an administrative hearing. Under the present status, they have to take and consider whether or not to take and charge the person with another crime for misconduct inside of the prison, because they don't have no other tools available to them. And do you know what the local towns say to that? They say that we don't have the money for you to continuously prosecute people who are already in prison. That's what happened in Ionia. That's what happened in Jackson. That's what happened in Muskegon. All of the local money is drained by the prison officials constantly running to prosecutors and asking the prosecutors to prosecute these people for misbehavior while in prison, where before they used to be able to take years of good time. So there was no incentive to take and prosecute them because they had tools to work with. They don't have those tools no more. You know, that's just one example. And this is why I'm saying you are in a position to run excellent, smart campaigns. You previously had a young lady, Amani Sharari. She did an excellent job running across the state. You even had, she was all up here in Ann Arbor at the university. She was all over the state. And I would hope that you guys would take and team up with her, but you need to also list the many smart arguments that support this position. You know, you need to take and list them. There are dozens of them. You know, there are dozens of them, and you won't run out of them.
Oh, if I could add, our legislation actually has removed the capabilities of the wardens to just remove somebody's good time. It has to be, you can only take away that month. So we've taken away the capabilities of having that astronomical punishment that where you take somebody's entire good time back, or, oh, we're going to be nice to you today and we'll give you some back. So we've taken that away in our bill language. And I can also add that, you know, congratulations to Amani, and she just did such an amazing job getting us this far, and that's why we decided to pick up and continue the momentum and carry it on. And so this summer we just have this amazing campaign where we're trying to get people across the state to join us and get out there and canvas. And we're passing out these postcards where good time makes good sense. And then on the back, we have a QR code where we're trying to have people sign our online petition, which then will send your legislator, senator, and representative a letter saying that you support this type of language in our legislation. And, you know, the more people that sign it too can say, you know, look, we have 500,000 signatures that people of your state say that this is a good policy and you need to do something about it. Michigan is just so far behind, but that's what we're doing this summer because we plan on dropping this legislation in both the House and the Senate in September. And so we're looking for organizations to get behind us and really help us with this lift and get this done finally, because we know it's what's best for Michigan.
Yes, please.
I didn't mean to take a step on anybody's conversation, but if I may also take an ad, remember the prisoners lost good time as a result of winning the civil rights arguments in conditions of confinement. As a result of Michigan prisons aging, and at the time, the prisons that existed at the time was practically 100 years old. You're talking about Jackson and Marquette and Ionia. Those facilities was practically 100 years old, if not older than 100. And the courts took and said that the conditions in those prisons were so horrific that they took and ordered the Department of Correction to either take and build new prisons, or to take and give the people incentive that was living under those conditions, because they thought it was too expensive to build prisons at the time. They took and gave the guys 90 days off of their good time after the prison was successfully, consecutively overcrowded for 90 days, and then they would declare emergency. Well, you had people that was envy of that, and they pushed back on it. And they used every time that someone got in trouble, they pointed out that that person got out early under that law, because they didn't agree with the law in the first place. So they got so extreme that they went back and not only stopped the Emergency Powers Act, but they took away the good time statute as well. And that's not a way that we should take and respond to our own behavior or taking and violating human rights inside of our facilities. We are a state, a sovereign state. We are a democratic state. And in a democracy, everything we do is experiment, okay? But we have our experiments tell us that it worked it compared to what we now have. Good time worked it in comparison to not having good time. Both of these things have been an experiment, having it and not having it. When you put up the effects of the two, you're gonna see that the one experiment overrode the other experiment, not irregardless of the arguments, the emotional arguments that we place on the table. One of them worked it better than the other one, and the one that worked it better was the one that had good time, period.
Attorney Hugo Matt. Attorney Hugo Matt. Oh, you can't hear me. Go ahead, Allie. You was going to say something earlier.
Well,
No.
no, Allie, go ahead. Go ahead, Allie.
Okay, go ahead, Allie.
No, it was just really quick. I was in reference to Jessica's petition and any other information I can get behind support. Please send that to me. Because I just feel like this isn't talked about enough. A lot of time, policing, police in general, that's the focus. But really, it's about that too, getting people out of this system. It's about where it stops and where it starts, the entry point, the exit point, or the end point for some people. So that's super important. But I'm here to support. And yeah, I'm just glad to see this work being done. And glad that the election, not getting that on the ballot, felt like defeating because it's such a big thing that needs to go. And I'm glad to see people still doing the work to remove that. So.
And I put the link on there on the screen now. If you want to find out more information about Good Time Makes Good Sense, or to sign a petition, or for volunteer opportunities, go to www.mijustice.org. Attorney Hugo Matt, you were going to say something? I guess not.
Well, just to agree with what everybody else has said, and like I said, I signed that petition last year. Was very. I signed that petition last year, and I applaud all those who want to keep the fight going. I met Miss Sawari. I interviewed her. And my heart is there, and with all of us, because I'm gonna say it again. I'm gonna say it one more time, what other people have already said. If people are so concerned about public safety, then understand that when you give a man or woman a chance to come back with a sense of humanity, of something they've earned in the penitentiary. Everybody may not earn a GED. Everybody may not earn a certificate. Everybody may not earn some kind of advanced training. But you can earn your freedom, and that is such a big part to me of what I'm about. People being given a chance to earn their freedom. And so that's why you put the link up there, J Love?
Yes, I did. I'll put it back up there again.
Okay, I want to be sure to be active and support that any way I can.
Right. I put the link back up for those that's viewing and who may watch it later. And for those who are listening, the link is www.mijustice.org. You can find out about the Good Time Makes Good Sense campaign, and you can sign a petition there. I already signed it. And for volunteer opportunities, right, Jessica?
Yes, absolutely, because we have great team leaders in Detroit, Grand Rapids, and Kalamazoo area, Lansing, and we're looking for some more. We're here in Traverse City right now for the Cherry Festival. Rich and I both. I'm staying at a lovely place here that I'm so excited to hit the pavement tomorrow morning, bright and early, to educate the great Grand Traverse County here. So that's just so exciting. We're here, to tell people what it is that we're doing and why we're so passionate about it, and I know everybody, you know, some people have shared some of their backstories, but I too am justice impacted. And I think it's important that we bring up the victims or crime survivors. This conversation wouldn't be complete without it. And that is something that's always brought up when we're talking to legislators. They want to know what victims say. And I can tell you that in some of our research with the Alliance for Safety and Justice, they did a 10-year study on Michigan specifically, where they had interviewed several of the crime survivors. And they do also have a great crime survivors organization where crime survivors go across the country and trying to make laws that do a better job for trauma centers, and also for better victim compensation, because that also is very difficult. But what I'd like to say about being a crime survivor myself, because when my husband was sent to prison, you know, it rocked my world, and I became justice impacted. I became a crime survivor. You know, we have 2 small children together, and these last over 5 years have been very difficult, and we've had to navigate this system, and it's been traumatic in so many different ways that I too am a crime survivor in different aspect, because I don't want to take away from people who had different experiences, because I can't imagine some other things, but I am not the same person I was 10 years ago, and I'm sure that there are many people on the inside that aren't. And I think that we have to take our emotions out of this. I think this was said earlier in the conversations, that we have to go off of the evidence-based practice, and we have to see what's working in other states. And I can tell you that in New York, they implemented a credit system, and their recidivism rates went down. That happened in Washington as well. And you know, Michigan is behind. We're the only state that makes you serve 100% of your entire sentence. Something is wrong with that. You know, we could do so much more with the money that we would save. $2.1 billion is spent. We spend the most amount of money in the entire country on our corrections budget. We have the longest time served in the entire country. I mean, that just speaks volumes right there, you know? So I just wanted to add the crime survivors aspect, you know, and 6 out of 10 crime survivors, they say that they'd rather have rehabilitation, incentives while they're inside, instead of just these long sentences where people just sit and do nothing with their time. So I just wanted to make sure that we talked about those as well.
Right. And also for all the people who ran on justice reform. We had so many people who ran on justice reform, promised reform. Good time. It should be a no-brainer for reform. If you're really true about reform, this should be a no-brainer.
I do. I guess this is more of a question. I don't know. We'll see. In terms of, like, you know, looking at all these places doing different things, you know, to change the system, whether policing, whether prosecutorial, or the prisons. That is something I hear a lot. I will hear politicians say, oh, well, where are they doing that? How has it been? How's it been going? They always are looking for like some like type of evidence or something for them to want to do it. And my worry with that is, you know, a lot of these are new. A lot of these changes to the system, like we haven't had people completely getting mental health crisis response teams, like just doing that. We haven't had, there's cities who have completely gotten rid of the police department and they're starting anew. There's places who are defunding the police. And, you know, there is not like a bunch of evidence out there for every single example, because we've had the same system for so long. But the same thing, doing that over again, that's insanity. If something's not working, if you're doing that again, it's insanity. And that's what's been happening. And so that's my only worry with like just going through, and not saying you were or anything, but that just made me think of all these situations and when solving these problems and trying to figure out, it's a lot of going the evidence-based way only. Like, is there research to back it? Is there proof of somewhere doing it? When we have not done those things. So it's hard to just go that route into this.
Right. And here in Michigan, when we go to the legislators, because we've talked to at least 99 out of the representatives, and I think close to 30 of the senators about our bill language. We've talked to them about, how they feel about these things. Several of them ask, what are the recidivism rates of the states that do have a good time system, and most of them are lower than Michigan. So those are great points to point out to that. And I just, I just want to take emotions out of that, because if you think about it, I was so emotional. I don't even remember that first year when my husband was gone, where, we're going through the criminal process. And I don't even remember it. How can we ask somebody to make decisions when we're in trauma like that? And so when some people say, what would you do? You're not going to know. You're not at a place to make those kinds of decisions. You need healing, you need time. And then you can actually look at something fresh, instead of, sometimes we say, well, what does the victim want? And it's just hard when there's so many emotions.
Trisha?
Yeah, I'd like to push back just a little bit there, because see, that's the problem. We too much in our heads and not in our hearts. See, if we open up our hearts, then we open our heart to humanity. If we open our heart to humanity, then we're more apt to give people a second chance. See, that's the problem. We so worried about the numbers. They don't give a about the numbers. The numbers been there.
Yeah, the research
and years and years and years. They've been compiling these numbers and they still haven't done anything. These people need a heart check. They need to check their hearts, because if you believe and you have a good heart, you will believe and want to give people a second chance. We got to get out of our heads and we got to open our hearts.
Amen. Absolutely. That's absolutely what we got to do. We want people to give us a second chance, but as soon as we're sinned against, oh no, how did you do that? How could you ever do that? But we too have to be able to be forgiving. Absolutely.
Reverend Tia?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. We have got to humanize it. And because that's the thing. When you just see numbers, you see numbers, but for some reason, we don't want to humanize. We don't want to feel. And we have to humanize this thing, because they have data. Michigan is the most antiquated system worldwide. And that was even when I was in grad school. It was worldwide, the most antiquated, one state. So this is a mindset of not wanting to change until it appears they become so criticized that they feel humiliated. We have got to get to humiliation. They have got to hear it over and over again. There is no reason why we can have evidence-based behavioral training with autistic children. We do it all the time, all day, every day. We do it with children with behavior issues that happen in the school. But we have not applied these same techniques at the prison level. This is asinine. It is ridiculous that we even have to continue having this conversation. They need to be humiliated, and more people need to write about it, including myself, so that it's written about, and constantly going to the lawmakers and saying, look, you guys are looking really stupid here. Yeah. Just plain and simple. Compare us with other states. Give them the numbers. Okay, you got the numbers. Give them some people. Give them some faces.
Yeah. Humanize it, just like you guys said, putting a face behind all that. I know that even for myself, I would have never known about any of this until I became justice impacted. And until this thing is in your backyard, in your face, you're not gonna get any changes, and you're not gonna have people that want to make change until we get in their face and show them that, hey, we're not going anywhere. We're going to fight this till the end, until you give us what we want, and we need good time, because it's what's right.
Yeah. And Tia, what you were saying about the numbers and them just seeing it as numbers, that makes me think of, when I looked at Livonia, Michigan, I looked at the data there, and finally got that data. And then when I looked at Dearborn, you know, looking at those numbers, like I couldn't take it. Like it made me cry. So all I saw is like Black people being pulled over and having family members who have been through that. And it's just like, I wish somebody felt like that, you know, that was working in those government facilities when they saw that data. Because then maybe they'd do something too, like I'm doing.
Right. And that's why we're here.
We need everyone to just help us show up at the Capitol lawn that day that we dropped that legislation in a big force, you know, be a big force that just cannot be denied, because the state, once we're educated on it, I think it'll be very clear to everyone that this is the right choice for Michigan.
Right. And I want to say that's why we're here on Fridays. You know, I didn't know anything myself. I was like, you know, as what you call a zombie, just sleepwalking until I was impacted. And then once I was impacted by it, I could not shut up about it, because I saw so many other people who this was happening to, and they didn't know either. And until we start all taking the responsibility, if we tell one person or two people a week or a day about, you know, what's going on, people can become more aware. I mean, these are good time makes good sense. It's not being talked about on the news. It's not being talked about, you know, on these shows that come on, you know, outside of us or, you know, grassroots people out here putting the information out. So we have to work together as a community to help, because not only, like you said earlier, not only does it help the person inside, it helps the whole society, everyone in Michigan. Attorney Hugo Matt.
Amen and amen. You know, I wish we had a collective plate to pass to put some money in on this, because it's true. I mean, I'm a living witness to it. It's true. In my experience, they had disciplinary credits, you know, and special disciplinary credits. So I made it my business to get every disciplinary credit possible and every special disciplinary credit possible. And, you know, that was my overriding goal, because I had a purpose to get back to the free world and work for vindication. So without that, I mean, I'm not sure what might have happened. Maybe I wouldn't have held my tongue the many times that I held my tongue, or maybe I would have looked back at somebody nasty when they were looking at me nasty if that wasn't there. But it was there. And by the way, that goes for inmates and officers too. See, because I've been called the N-word by an officer. And if it wasn't for those things that go into the hole and losing time and probably getting beat up beyond recognition, I might have reacted differently to those officers. But thank God I didn't, you know?
Yeah. Edward, do you have anything to add?
Yes. You know, we tend to have where our government pretend to take and believe that this is, or try to advocate that this is an issue between those who offend and those who are victimized by their offense. But really, we live in a society where the government over penalize when there's an incident. And in fact, we penalize to the extent that when a person committed an offense in this country, they literally lose their citizenship. Okay, so this is not just simply about good time. Remember, when you commit an offense in this nation, you lose your citizenship.
Right.
That's why I refuse to refer to myself as a returning citizen. No one goes to prison and return home with their constitutional rights. I do not have the right to take and defend myself. I can't defend a woman and a child. I can live in a home with a woman and a child, and both of them have a greater right to take and hold a firearm than I do as a man. Okay? That's dehumanizing. It strips me of my constitutional right. I can even be denied the right to move into the home with my woman or my wife, my spouse, upon returning back from prison if she's living in a state or government-owned housing projects. And in fact, I can be denied by a housing division if they're receiving money from a federal program. If they're receiving money from a state or federal program, they can tell me, because I haven't been home for 5 years, that I don't qualify to take and live in that community. So who returns home from prison and live out on the street for 5 years? Where do the person that's coming home live at for 5 years before he or she qualify to live in a community? Okay? People are denied the basic necessities in terms of social safety nets when they return home from prison. These are things that are even given to immigrants that come to our society. We are decent enough as a society that we give this to non-U.S. citizens. But as a U.S. citizen that has committed a misdemeanor or a felony, you are denied these things. So even where some people might take and listen to us and think that we are taking and advocating some type of cuddling of people who commit offenses against society, society got too big of a feat on those who commit offense. You don't help a victim when you take and beat down a perpetrator to the point that you make them a non-citizen when you get through with the perk. You haven't benefited. You haven't did anything for the victim of that crime, because now he or she live in a society with thousands, millions of other people that's living in their societies that are now no longer citizens in the society, and they do things that now that people do that doesn't have a stake in the society. That's what you get when you take and brutalize people because they have made a mistake in their life. And that's what we do. We have millions of people in this society that are now no longer citizens in this country. Let's quit celebrating the book, The New Jim Crow, and understand it and respond to it effectively.
Yes. Trisha?
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing left to say. Let's get it done.
Allie?
Yeah, I'm with Trisha. Feet on the ground. As it's time to kick up some dust and get it done.
Yes. Rabatia? You muted, Rabatia.
Yes, I'm with everyone. 100%. It's time to get it done and really educate people because they don't know. And yes. We got to get that good time back in. That's the first thing. Sign every petition and do what you can when you can. But there's no reason for us to continue in this ignorance.
Yes, some good trouble.
Right. Attorney Hugo Matt.
Nothing more to be said.
Okay.
Would you be able to post that link in the message to the group in case I can't pick it up on my phone here?
It's in there. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'll send it to you.
Okay, thank you.
I'll send it to you again.
All right.
And Jessica, any last words?
No, we need bodies, guys. We need bodies back in it. You know, we're coming to a town near you and I need your help going door to door and telling people what's going on in their hometown. We need help. So give us a hand, guys, and let's get this done.
Yes, good time makes good sense. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We'll see you. If we don't see, we might pop up again between now and August. But until then, thank you.
Okay.
Much love and respect, everyone.